Are your CSA scores low, but truck insurance costs high, slowly driving you out of business? Ricardo, CEO of Coverfleet, works with fleets, drivers, carriers, brokers, owner-operators, and insurance companies to build industry partnerships, saving money while improving safety. So please say hello, share your thoughts, grow your network, and learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to Industry Logistics on ATI Auto Business, where some people learn more about the automotive industry. We are talking about... Oh, here we go. Oh, I don't have my volume loud enough. Oh, Sue.
What?
Where's the drum roll? There we go. There's
Here,
the drum roll. Oh, you need it again? Here we go. Okay. So we are back on a Thursday.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry. We're back. So, which we'll periodically do that. We'll periodically be back and then periodically not. So we got Coverfleet on the show today. Okay. You're going to learn what that is. I know you said to me, what's Coverfleet, right?
Right.
And we're going to learn more about that. That's what this show is. This is show 204.
Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Ricardo is the founder and CEO of Coverfleet. He posts things on LinkedIn about, CSA scores. That gets drivers' attentions, right?
Yeah.
So, our drivers have no violations. So why is our CSA score high? It looks clean, but it's not. What? Well, Coverfleet helps carriers, brokers, insurance companies, and more with safety, claims, insurance, and compliance. He's going to explain how they do that. He's our guest today. And I thought this was pretty cool. Here's a Coverfleet safety performance report. If you dive into this kind of stuff, you're going to learn something.
Yeah, because usually I don't know what half that stuff means.
Right? Or how often do you even see this many metrics?
Well, never.
Right? Driver
Even on
fitness,
the little one you get off of Central, you only get like 2 lines, I think.
This is pretty cool. Pretty interesting. So we're going to learn more about that. And then, the next accident's right around the corner. Yeah. We have a video coming up.
Okay. My favorite.
I know. I'm pretty excited. It's a pretty rough video. But we want you to get to know your ecosystem, and everything is on the table. It's ATI. We are the neutral zone, and we prove it. You know how we're going to prove this?
Tell me.
Drum roll.
Okay.
This was posted on LinkedIn. I honestly don't know how anyone is making it in trucking right now. I'm up to my eyes in debt and can't seem to keep up with maintenance. These rates are horrible. Right?
Like I'm running on a treadmill like a rat.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
For the record, my truck is for sale. Obviously, maintenance is good, but that's a big reason why I'm broke. Nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's number one in fraud and super duper fast and all this crap. All the carriers are going out of business. Any carrier getting into business right now, 80-90% will be out of business in 2 years.
Yeah.
And people keep getting in this business because you got to do something, right?
Well, and they probably watch a lot of YouTube videos where they're rolling around in money.
I don't know if there's that many being made anymore. I don't know. But hey, what's going on here? I smell some beef. You literally had somebody decline a load. Tell me what's going on.
So on listings, if someone declines a load or if you cancel a load because they canceled or whatever, they take that load from you and you have to it goes against your load count. So you lose that load. I don't think it's fair. If we're paying for loads, we should be able to use our loads. It's not like they go into the next month like phone minutes used to way back in the day. you literally lose that. And I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair. That's just one of my beefs today, but it is ridiculous. If we're paying more money to have loads and we want, like the spread is, I don't know if everybody knows, we've talked about this before. It goes from 50 loads to pay for as a broker to 300 loads. There's not even a gap in between. Most smaller brokers like me, we're doing like 100, 150 loads. There should be a break in between the two. They're not doing that. Go ahead.
Okay, pause for a second.
We have them.
Anybody
You're like,
tuning into
stop.
LinkedIn? Well, I want to say this.
Okay.
Camera one, if you're tuning in on LinkedIn, if you're tuning in on YouTube, what are we talking about right now?
I'm talking about brokerage listings, what we're paying for, what the expense is now,
On what platform?
what they're doing on CD,
On CD.
Central Dispatch.
Right, and
Yeah.
why are we so careful about not even saying their name?
Because they they don't like it, obviously.
They don't
but,
like
I
it, do
mean,
they?
no,
Wow,
no.
what is it they don't like? You
They probably
talking
don't
about
like-
something important to the function of your business?
Right. Right.
So-
And I mean, I keep telling everybody they need to complain. I can't be the only one having these issues and problems, but I think they're probably too busy to worry about it. But this is important.
They are too busy
really
to worry
important.
about it. It's kind of isn't that kind of nice that everybody's so busy scraping nickels together they don't have time, and who's going to listen to them anyways?
No. And I mean, it's just ridiculous. The price going up for not, I mean, they're saying our prices went up because we're getting better service. I haven't seen that yet. I feel like I'm getting worse service.
I got a guy calling me
Hmm.
asking me if there's somebody I know over there that can help because he had his account hacked, so he can't use it. He's losing money, time, sanity, but he's still paying his
Right.
subscription monthly.
Wow.
And he
I-
can't get anybody. And I mean, and someone's going to say, well, gosh, you guys are just on a vendetta. Well, we're not. We don't even know how many people are out there with these problems. And nobody gives
yeah.
a crap.
Yeah.
Everyone just goes to trade shows and spreads money around and buys banner ads. Don't listen to those crazy fools. They don't know.
I would assume that a lot of people
can't believe
that
it.
just think that nothing's going to change either, which it doesn't.
Nothing is going to change.
No.
No.
I mean, we're supposed to just deal with it and go on. It's
You
not
got
fair.
the number 2 load board up against the wall with a lawsuit.
Right.
Why fix anything?
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
This is auto transport. You can do whatever you want. All right. That was kind of fun. Hey, Jay, I'm out in California looking at starting car hauling. Why?
California,
None of the videos I'm finding give any info about what to do after I sign up with Central. That's right. They only talk about making money, but they don't. Yeah, there's no videos of what to do after you sign up. Now that I'm signed up, I've been going around and around trying to sign up with all the other brokers that post on Central. It's man, this has been going on forever. What do you
Forever,
wanna say?
because basically this is a business you have to learn as you go, and I don't think that's quite fair either. Like, and then they're right. You can call to get a load, and they can tell you have to be in there for a year. They don't. You have no way of knowing what brokers you're allowed to haul for unless you call and find out, which is sad. I used to have a list, right? I have a list of what all the rules were. We've done this, right?
Oh yeah,
But they change.
Yeah.
Monthly, they change their rules.
and who cares?
Yeah, well, there you have it. There you have it.
I know. If you've tuned in and you're like, what is this crazy show? What are they talking about? In a nutshell, Sue, what are we talking about? We're talking about how the auto transport industry is literally the opposite of all the advertising that you see.
Right.
You see that everything's super fast, everyone's really happy, and this great tech. It is literally the opposite. Everybody's broke. Nobody answers the phone to help. And you have no clear instructions on what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. You literally have to know somebody, and honestly, know somebody that can train you on how to learn all this stuff.
Rocky's like,
And it's not just one little thing.
Well,
It's
that's what
numerous
we've been
things.
trying to do.
I know.
We've been trying for years to be a helpful resource.
Yep.
Nobody wants that. Why are you guys bothering? Please go away. Please go out of business like all the other carriers. They hate us. Why do we do this?
It's fun torture, I guess.
I guess so.
I mean, the whole reason we did this was so we could help people.
I know, and nobody
So,
cares.
no.
Pretty sure another scam broker,
Yes.
Ovenshi.
Yeah.
Ovenshi?
No, it's clicked out, but anyway.
Oh. Well, I don't need any more letters. I love that their email is something at Outlook. That's cool.
There you go.
And you know when they
There's your
started
first
up?
thing.
420, bro. What's up? Did you see that?
Well, that was when it was last updated. I think the date is like 4/2.
Okay.
But
Oh,
anyways,
okay. All right. Dang
here's
it.
a prime example of a company listing cars for outrageous amounts of money, right? So I went to look to see if they were paying people. Guess what? They're scam brokers. They're not paying
Oh.
people, that kind of thing.
So
So if you
can
see
check
these on there, I wouldn't take them.
Now,
Yeah,
where did
I
you
went
get
and
that
looked at
info?
the
In their
reviews.
reviews and their ratings?
Ratings,
In their
ratings
ratings.
saying they're not paying people, they're scams.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
And that's the thing people have to look for. If they're brand new, they're listing loads and they're always on the board. They're like 3, 4, 6 packs. They're all big packs. Okay. That's where they're going to get the big car haulers. They're going to think, oh, this is a good load. Let's grab it, go. Because how often do you see a 4-pack or a 6-pack that's listed at 87, 97 cents a mile?
Well,
Never.
that makes you ask and that begs the question: how does a scam broker get some of those multi-pack loads? They give a rock
Well,
bottom rate to a dealer or a OEM
or
third party.
or what I had found, when it happened to us is they stole the load off of Central. What I think is happening, this is my theory,
Well, there's nobody to
is
call to
they say
report
they're,
that, so that's cool.
well, it's true. They call as a
I
transporter,
like
they
it.
get the load, then they go and relist it for more money. And it's always a billing. Always be careful. If it says it's a billing, watch it. That's usually your first clue that something wacky's going on. And your second clue is that when you show up at that place and find out that we didn't dispatch this to you and it was dispatched to another company and we're not paying that much money, you better get your money right now or you're not going to get paid. Call ahead. That's what I always do. If you think there's anything suspicious about a load,
Good point.
call ahead to the delivery
Call ahead.
or if it's yes, and find out who's paying, who
And they're
did all
hoping
this,
you
who
don't
did
do
what,
that,
that kind of
right?
thing.
How many
Yes.
loads get
'Cause most people
dispatched
don't.
hoping nobody calls anybody?
Probably a lot,
A
especially
lot.
in that situation.
And a
it's
lot of drivers don't
Yeah, it
do.
is.
How many drivers have you had to
No.
talk to and you're like, please call them. Please, I'm begging you.
Yes. Yes,
Right?
we never verified. Yeah. Well, and it's not even always about your pickup. It's usually going to be about your delivery. They're usually the ones that are supposed to be paying. So call both ends. If one doesn't help you, go to the other end and find out who set this up, who were they expecting to pick it up. If you have a suspicion that there's something fishy, go with your gut and find out before you're already in the mess and then you didn't make any money. That's what I tell you.
Hey, pause, Sue. So I think your video is now being tested by your bandwidth on whatever connection you're on. So that's just a note. So do me a favor, shut down the video for a second and let's see if the bits catch up. Also in the live chat, Chris is still with us. That's amazing. Wow, Chris. And is there a place that validates brokers against? Is there a place that validates brokers and agents like how carriers get validated? That's a good question. I know that we've talked with. There's Highway and there's My Carrier Portal, but is there? And I mean, for heaven's sake, what does the load board vet brokers? I don't think they do that. I don't. Right,
No.
Sue? Can you? Does the Yeah.
They don't vet them. They ask have to turn in all your paperwork, of course. But there is no vetting to make sure you are who you are other than, here's the thing, you guys. Everybody can go get a DOT. Everybody can go get an MC. But that doesn't mean they're going to pay you. It doesn't mean they're not trying to commit fraud. It doesn't mean any of that stuff. So you still have to do your due diligence, which is sad because back in the day, Jay, how often did we have to do that? None. We didn't have to worry about that stuff.
I know. Hey, here's what we're gonna do. We got a few news pieces that we will cover after we bring in Rocky. But let's bring in Rocky. It's 12:15. Here we go. Please do help me wish a warm welcome to Rocky. Ricardo is the founder and CEO of Coverfleet. So we're going to add him now. Let's see what's going on with Rocky. And as we do that too, I got this video. Rocky, while you're loading into the screen, I'm going to share this video. Sue, can you see my screen if I share a video?
Yeah, I can see you right now.
All right, here we go. Check this out. And Rocky, let me know when you can see us and hear us.
Yeah, I can see you and hear you, Jay.
All right, perfect. I can hear you. I don't see you yet, but oh, here it comes.
Oh, there we go.
Wow. Wow. Let's watch this again. Perfect timing here.
Wow.
Because you're going to talk about this. Okay. Rolling down the road. Everything's normal. What? You're almost there. You're about to make your delivery. And.
Wow.
What
right
the?
Into him.
Right into him. I believe it goes one more time. Let's check it out one more time.
Wow.
I mean, you know, because they always say, well, was that preventable? Is this preventable? Where are you going to go?
Or where's the driver going to go? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming something must have been going on with the guy in the truck, that something happened.
Right.
Head right at him, heart attack, stroke, whatever.
Right. Rocky. Oh, man. You know what? I don't think the audience could see that video. Here, we're going to roll it one more time. Here we go. I was focused on the, everyone's like, what are you guys watching? Okay, so here we got, rolling down the road, about to make a delivery, and that happens. I'm going to roll one more time. And keep in mind, you know what the best part is? There's a video of this.
Right.
Because without this video, everyone's going to say, the trucker did it.
Dead in the water.
Right?
100%.
100%.
Happens all the time.
I mean, all day long. Oh, it must have been the trucker. Had to be the trucker. Trucker's this, trucker's that, and here he comes.
Well, that's sort of the biggest problem in the industry, right? Everybody blames the trucker. But, you know, we could get into that.
So,
there's a lot
of
angles there.
Hey, before we do, please say hello and tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So my name is Rocky Ricardo. I'm founder and CEO of Coverfleet. I've been in transportation for about, more than a decade now. I'd like to say I'm very passionate about this industry. There's a ton of problems to solve. I mean, you got obviously the auto haulers. You guys were just talking about CB, right? And that whole thing. And, there's the other side, which is the trucking or truckload side, right? But we both share like very similar problems, right? CSA scores, insurance. So a little bit about me. I've been, doing this for about 10 years in and out of transportation, managing fleets. I was a fleet owner before. I had a distribution company as well. And I successfully exited out of that back in 2014, 2015. And I've been sort of like, doing a lot of insurance and safety and consulting for different, fleets and distributors, et cetera. So I got myself involved in the insurance space about 5 years ago, right during COVID, which was fun and interesting to get into a new industry. So I started up an insurance brokerage, which is a sister company of ours, back in February 2020. From there, I started seeing a lot more problems that I used to deal with in the past when I had a trucking company, distributing company. And, I started kind of uncovering a lot of what makes insurance underwriters tick, right? When they write the premium, right? And what makes them tick are really two things. The two things are safety scores, which are public information, which is public information. It's called the CSA scores, which is a program implemented by US DOT, a couple of years ago, and it's taken into a whole new form now with a new update. And then you have your claims. But there's a lot more deeper than just safety scores and claims, right? There is about, hey, what are you doing today to improve your safety scores, right? So they want to know what the trend is. They want to know what you're doing. They want you to show proof of your improvements, right? So that's a layer deeper. And then another layer deeper on claims is that they want to, it's not just about, hey, how much are you guys paying out of pocket for the claim? How much are insurers paying out of pocket for the claim? But how many claims have you had? So the frequency is called loss frequency to insurance underwriters. Maybe we have a couple tuned in here, but you have your loss frequency, which is the number of claims, and you have your loss severity, which is the amount of payouts that you make. And you would figure that, what's more important is how much money is going out, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of underwriters, they feel when they have a lot of claims or you have a lot of accidents that you're one accident away from having a big, big one. So they actually look at loss frequency or the amount of claims that you get into or accidents as an even more important metric. So we started kind of diving down this path about 5 years ago, and that's kind of when I started Coverfleet to kind of address all these issues that I was talking about, and that's what we're doing today.
Thanks, Rocky. I appreciate that. Hey, Sue, do you have any questions for Rocky as we continue? You may not.
Nope.
No, okay.
We're good.
So, insurance is really interesting to talk about because, on the one hand, somebody fell asleep before I finished the word insurance.
I certainly did.
Right. Okay. And yet, it is a business killer.
Yeah.
100%.
Either having it and it's too expensive, or not having it. There is,
Well, you cannot not have it, right? You have a federal filing. Auto haulers is $1 million, $750 for motor carriers, but $1 million is the standard across the industry, even in full truckload. So you have to have it. You have to have cargo. You won't move a load, right? Unless you have 250 or 500,000 in cargo for auto haulers.
It's interesting you say that because we know those are the rules, but that doesn't clearly seem to be the. There's somebody hauling right now that doesn't have any insurance. I don't know how they got the load, but they did.
Right, 100%.
And
probably a double broker.
And
a lot of
we're in such a race for the cheapest. I know we all say we want the best. What
you
a bunch
can fake
of BS.
an insurance cert with no problem too. Come on. Nobody verifies them.
Ooh, there's a lot to unpack there, but yeah, there's a ton of fraud, double brokering. You see a lot of the, unverified insurance. I call it unverified insurance when, a lot of double brokers or fraudsters, they give a load to anybody because they don't really care. Right. They just want to make sure it gets from point A to point B. They want to go scam somebody out of the payment. So this is a thing that's been going on. And I feel like a lot of the people that are doing this right, they do verify insurance. They do understand how to read a certificate of insurance. They know, what to look for. Banner reports this out all the time, with like, hey, here's what you need to look for, etc. So I just one thing that I always like to say is I like to educate everybody that I deal with. Education is the most important thing because if you don't know, you don't know, right? And I know that's why you guys created this show as well, is to teach people, hey, this is what the ugly stuff looks like. It's not just all flowers and rainbows and you throw in a banner in a tray. I love that, Jay. You throw in a banner in a trade show. It's it's all good. No, nothing is all good. You have to look at the reality of the industry. And you have to be ethical, and you have to know, hey, we can't cut corners. Sometimes you have to do it. I talk to fleets here all the time too that, used to cut corners, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm going to show you exactly why you shouldn't cut that corner and what it's going to actually impact you. Because unless you know, you don't know, right? So ignorance is bliss.
We got some good engagement in the live chat. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read a little bit of live chat and then, jump in as it makes sense. Let's see. Let's go back to, is there a place that validates brokers and agents, like how carriers get validated?
So Carrier Assure is a platform that is trying to do that now. I am not sure if Carrier 401 wants to go that route. I think they're very broker dominant, but I think Carrier Assure is probably the best platform where carriers can go validate brokers, shippers, validate in a couple of different metrics like, did you pay the loads on time? Are you doing anything shady? Have you reported a lot of carriers in the past? So I think they're making it the whole ecosystem, which is very important. They're making it very transparent for everybody to be able to vet each other, and I think that's very important because a lot of these, I would say platforms, vetting platforms, they're very one-sided. They're extremely one-sided to the broker and the shipper, which is great, right? There's a lot of fraud certainly in the carrier space, but there's a ton of fraud also in the broker space, right? But nobody's not like everybody on the trucking side is talking about it, but nobody as a whole industry is talking about it. Until I think in the last 3 years, and Cassandra's done a good job with Carrier Assure. Anybody want to check them out? I think they're trying to do the fair thing, which is important.
Well, and I'm gonna say this is that there's no money in validating the shipper, right? Aren't they the ones spending the money? So why would we validate? Right. All right.
Well, true, because I would say most of the industry is owner operators. They're not looking to pay, or they're not looking to get so complex in their operation. They just want to move freight. So you're absolutely right. The people that have the money to pay for the user licenses and things like that, they're always on LinkedIn finding out the new tech, but not the motor carriers. Certainly not most of the industry. 99% of the industry.
Right. I think I just got taxed for even saying that. So now a reply to that was, hey, look up the broker's MC and the company on their bond. If a problem arises, you file against their bond. It's interesting. That's an interesting reply. Yes, you're shaking your head. What do you want to say?
Yeah. I mean, the bond is fine. The problem is that there's a ton of ways that you can't get that desired outcome, especially during a claim process. We deal with a lot of cargo claims here, and at the end of the day, there's very little assurance. The surety bond doesn't give too much assurance nowadays, because essentially it's not an insurance. It's a guarantee. That's how a surety works. But in essence, there's not a lot of recourse there for trucking companies, to be honest with you. We dealt probably with 150 cargo claims. Now, I'm not talking about auto haulers. I've done a few auto haulers, maybe for your audience, but for everybody else, full truckload, temperature controlled, flatbed, dry van, it's complex. You're going. So one thing I like to tell clients that we have is that you're going up against maybe a top 100 broker. Like, they're very big fish. They have counsels that they retain, whether external or internal. They have literally people that are going to make your life impossible. Then you have your insurance company, where you write a policy with your agent, and your agent doesn't, will send you to any place that gives you a really good premium, but they don't really know what that policy form covers. And that's another problem, is that, you're purchasing something that's cheap, that's gonna at every turn, decline your load, decline your claim, I'm sorry. And then you have let's say 20 grand worth of outstanding invoices with that broker. They're withholding that money. You go file against their bond, but it never goes through, because you have a claim dispute issue where you couldn't cover your own claim because you have a poor policy form. And you have on your agreement, you have a sort of like a warranty, right, with that broker that you're going to take care of the issue. So it's a deeper issue than just filing against the bond. If it was that easy, trust me, the world will be a lot easier. But like you said, Jay, it's not about plastering the thing. It's about the real issues that, I certainly see it, right? I'm welcoming anybody on the debate to say, oh yeah, it's been 1, 2, 3, right? But it goes a lot deeper than that. I hope that makes sense. But
well, it does, and so I encourage, keep the live chat going. Awesome. This is good. We're gonna keep it going because I'm gonna read, but I am gonna say I think that Sue and I can verify on the car haul side that I know I started dispatching in 2012. And I had to stop at a certain point because I was going to jump off a cliff. The reason why I was so miserable at it is that it was every day banging my head against the wall. And one of the things that I would hear is, broker's not paying, I'm going to file on their bond. And I got tired. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't seem to do anything, which is kind of what you just said. I don't know how it can be so useless to have a bond or whatever, but it almost never worked. And
Yeah.
if it did, it took, threats of death to get paid.
It's
Why?
true. Yeah, it's just right
Jeez.
now. Yeah, look, FMCSA, their main thing is to regulate motor carriers, right? Which, understandably so, is the people that have the big trucks, the people that need to take care of the maintenance, the brakes that are faulty, obviously the accidents that that will probably go into that accident, but essentially there needs to be a little bit more, and I know the two sides of the coin, right? But there needs to be a little bit more tighter control over the brokerage side and over the insurance
Well,
requirements for
well,
brokerage. Maybe the brokerage itself needs to have insurance. They need to have a contingent cargo. It can't be a something that it's like, oh, it's nice to have, right? And I'm maybe you guys are aware of contingent cargo coverage,
tell us more.
but basically contingent cargo is, depending on, the coverage form that you have, it covers, cargo claims that, are not paid by the primary, or meaning the motor carrier. So if the motor carrier, insurer denies the cargo claim, you have a basis of, or the broker has a basis of paying their shipper via a contingent cargo. It's a little bit deeper than that, but in that sense, that's what it is. But maybe it should be a requirement for all, for FMCSA to put a rule in place. And look, I'm talking very broad here, and of course, I have the lens of a trucking, company at, I have that lens, but in essence, making it a requirement for brokers to have, primary cargo coverage for their loads, right, and to be responsible for that. I think that would eliminate a lot of problems. That would also help a lot of trucking companies also with big wrecks where they have to, dispose of the cargo, and then they have to pay for, the disposal of the cargo and, towing and storage of it, etc., depending on what it is. But
if
anyways,
you're just joining us now, I want to say this. If you're just joining us now, I'm going to show this video again, and I want you to talk about the video and, how this pertains to you, right? Because, so, did somebody send you this video, or how did you get this video?
So this is actually one of the drivers for one of our clients.
Wow.
So we have integrations with, we have a tech platform. We have integrations with Samsara and Motive. So what we do is we collect, a lot of these videos to kind of find out, to help them from a claims perspective, and also to help them from a kind of like a mitigation perspective. So meaning, develop, like, for instance, this driver, did the driver have a bad driving record? Like, did we see that he had, like, a propensity for, harsh braking and things like that, following too closely, right? Could this been prevented, basically? Or the better question is,
so then you look into, so first you look into the carrier.
Yeah, you look into specifically the driver. You look into the fleet as a whole, and you say, is the fleet performing on the best practices of the industry? Samsara has done a really good job, for instance, doing they call it fleet benchmarking, which is comparing all the fleets, and this is trucking and private fleets alike, Class 8 vehicles, comparing all of those guys and saying, okay, what is the industry best practice for speeding? Right, of course, anything 0%, right? Speeding is obviously optimal, but where is everybody really at, and how are we measuring that against crashes? And they do a really good job with that, and with their called the safety score, Samsara safety score. Same thing with Motive. It's like a driving score where it kind of amalgamates all of the harsh braking, following too closely, and they have different standards for road-facing cameras and inward-facing cameras. So basically, we try to, with this video, there's two things here. We try to find out, like, hey, did the driver have a pattern that, was indicative of a crash? If they did, then did the fleet owner or fleet stakeholder know about it, right? And if they don't know about it, why didn't they know about it, right? So what we're trying to solve here is to make it more visible to them before things happen. So Samsara and Motive do a great job, and I would point those two ELDs or / telematic providers. because I think, they're the leading people that are constantly innovating on this. But essentially, you want the fleet owner to have actionable information, and then you also need the fleet owner to have some hand-to-hand help to understand what he's seeing. So I don't know if you've gotten this before, but you look at a new piece of technology and you're like, oh, this all looks great, right? Like you mentioned, our report looks great, looks very interesting. But if you don't have somebody to explain to you why that actually matters, right, you're not really going to know what to do about it. So that's a problem with a lot of tech companies or a lot of software companies, that when you go in downstream to the smaller fleet owner, talking about 10 to 50 trucks, those guys are not really utilizing the data that they have. It's not that the data's bad. It's like they're not taking action. So what we do in Coverfleet is that we give them that boutique support to understand what those metrics are, and then be able to improve them over time to prevent maybe things like this. In this particular case, this driver actually was really good. The problem was that he had 2 seconds to react on something that could have probably not been preventable. It literally, if you took a look at that footage, it was going a little bit over the hill. You could barely see a guy coming in. It's like a 2-second reaction on a 50,000 pound haul. So how can you actually maneuver the truck where the impact is not going to be there? The impact's still going to be there. Whether you move it this way, you might hit the trailer.
Right.
Whether you move it this way.
Here we are. We're freeze framing, and he's what? Could be 100 yards, 200 yards off. You can't tell what that truck is doing.
Yep.
I mean,
exactly.
That could be another car, so he could just be avoiding another car, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then now what? Half a second later, it's clear.
Yeah.
That's something. And
that's crazy.
I mean, as the guy in the live chat, trucker maintained their lane. It appears they were braking and moving right, but they had to take that pickup on or else bail out into the ditch. Yeah, where are you going to go?
Even if you bail out into the ditch, you have a trailer.
In the trees?
Yeah.
What's the is that a steep hill? What kind of, man, there's no time.
There's no time. It's not
time. It's just right there.
Even if you were to pivot it a little bit, there would still be a major impact. What had happened was that after this accident, I remember it happened in I think in the morning, but I had a call from, our client at the time, and he's like, hey, this is really bad. The driver got into an accident. Like the cops are, have him on the side of the truck. Like they want to arrest him. Can you please talk to them? And I'm like, what do you mean they want to arrest him? Like, what's happening here? He said, no, he's freaking out. Like he was like shaking. They actually had to transport him because he was so like shaken up about the situation from what happened. And clearly you can see the other person like just immobilized. He told us the other person was completely immobilized, meaning, the other person had passed away. It was pretty clear to everybody at the scene. And, the driver was a driver from East Africa. So typically, look, there's prejudice still in the country, right? Especially when you go to smaller towns. I think this was a small town in South Carolina, North Carolina, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a ton of prejudice. And of course, who are they going to trust? So what happened is we had to actually send the officer. Literally, the guy was in handcuffs. He was getting into the police car. We had to be like, look, don't do this. You're committing a big mistake. Like, our driver did not do anything. You know what I mean? We showed the footage. He got released. They had a post-accident, report. And, of course, they put all the different, the truck was totaled. But it was a whole thing. And if we didn't respond, I would say immediately. And the owner did a great job also talking as well. Like he really took proactive measures. But if we didn't take the time to do that immediately and have the footage, the trucking company, I will almost certainly promise you, the trucking company would not be in business because no insurance company is going to touch a fatality and nobody's going to believe the trucker, period. Just is what it is. And then also, the driver will have a really, really tough time getting employed by any serious trucking company. And I mean serious trucking company, meaning the companies that run the pre-employment screening program reports, the companies that run those MVRs, like, companies that are not doing, trying to fly by night, right? Those trucking companies. So it's really important. And I tell owners all the time, and I've gotten people that have said, hey, we got on the call with on a demo, and then they, I asked them, it's like, hey, do you have cameras? And they're like, no. It's like, are you open to having dash cams? They're like, no, I don't see the need for them. And even after trying to explain to them, they still don't want to do it. And I told them, it's like, look, if you are not willing to put cameras in your trucks for the first 90 days of our program, for instance, or when you sign up with us, like, we don't need to talk. It's just that simple. I'm wasting my time. You're wasting your time. My team is wasting their time. Like, good luck to you. You know what I mean? Like, no ill feelings. I just know exactly the road that's leading into. I've seen too much.
There's a reason there are cameras everywhere.
Yeah, show them this video. That's all you have to do.
Doorbells and, body cam. And I mean,
the drivers want them, by the way. The truck drivers, every single truck driver we talk to, or that I have talked to, they want them.
Yeah.
The only ones that don't want them are the people that are doing everything, like they're trying to fly by night.
Yeah.
Right? They're trying to fly by night. That's cool, man. Like, you cannot drive for this company. And I tell owners all the time, one bad driver can ruin your whole company.
Yep.
Period. A claim, right? That one driver can have a ton of CSA score issues. Maybe it's an owner operator. He doesn't want to go take the truck for inspection. We recommend, doing it once a quarter at the very least, if you don't have an in-house mechanic or somebody that can inspect trucks. But, they just want to fly by night. They want to make money. Maybe they just came from another country. They want to be here. They want to go, we call in the industry, strong solo Sergey. Sergey. I think that's a good one.
Okay, hey, I'll say in
nothing
defense,
against Sergey. Nothing against.
Well,
Sergey.
no, I had a guy actually say the other day, I love working with Russians because they work hard and they pay fast. I was like, all right, man, that's a show.
Absolutely.
And I do want to say, hey, in the live chat, Peach Transport is asking, what do you do with frivolous claims? You want to talk about frivolous claims for a minute?
Ooh, all day. So let's kind of define what frivolous is, right? Because I think there's maybe like two different definitions for two different people. Frivolous claim is basically a claim where, you hit somebody and it's clearly not your fault. And that other somebody gets, let's say, an attorney sends a bunch of medical bills and says, hey, you know what, I have like a thing, right? And it's a $250,000 claim for literally a bump on the, a bump on their car, literally visible like nothing. I've seen that all day long. It's just the way that it works now. But there are ways to combat that. The way that you do that, number one, is you get the footage. You get pictures of the license plate for the other person. You get the contact information for the other person. Okay. And the first thing that you need to do within those 72 crucial hours, report it to your insurance company, number one. You have a duty on your policy to do so. And it's also proven time and time again that the earlier that you report, the better the outcome becomes, the better that they can prepare to defend you. But most importantly, you have to have the dash cam, clearly showing what happened. You have to have the contact information for the other party. And the first thing you're going to do, report it to the insurance company and contact that other party, right? And try to get a statement from them. Be like, hey, can you just walk us through like what happened, right? And, if you're, I would say, a fleet owner, I'm assuming this person's a fleet owner. If you don't have any experience doing claims, I would highly recommend you look into this course. It's called, I'm butchering the name, Transportation Claims Specialist course, which is offered by MCIEF, Motor Carrier Safety Insurance Education Foundation. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry, Rich is probably listening, to this, like he butchered it. They do a really good job with the course. It's taught by someone that that does a really good job with claims. But basically, you want to get a statement from them. You want to get a statement from your driver. And then you also want to educate your drivers to get witnesses. I know it's very hard, and some drivers, and we go through this all the time, they don't really know. When they get into an accident, most of them haven't even been involved in like more than 2 accidents in their whole lifetime. So of course, they're not really going to know what to do. Just, maybe educate when a new driver gets on board. Hey, here's the claim procedure, right? Get 1 or 2 witnesses. Just get the contact information. Call the witnesses, get the witness statements. And once you have the whole thing packaged up, right, then, you send it to your insurance company, let them deal with it. Or if you have a claims person, or you have an adjuster at your company, right, at your trucking company, even better, you have a public adjuster at your company, that person can then, work with that other person to get things settled. So for instance, if you go hit somebody, we had this a couple of times. We went ahead and hit a lady. I think I posted this, Jay, and I sent it to you. It was a lady that we hit, and she sent us the dash cam footage of the accident. It was a very minor accident. We came into her lane, but she kept going onto her lane. So she had a duty of care to like not keep going when there's a truck coming, not just keep going and then hit the truck. She sent us the footage anyway. She goes like, hey, I got this, and, I need to get my sensors replaced. And she kind of had the allure of, getting an attorney if the thing did not resolve. So what we did is we said, look, we want to make things right. Look, I noticed after looking at the footage, I noticed that obviously, we came into the lane, but you just kept going, but that's fine. We're going to take care of it. We'll throw in a rental, a couple day rental to get your thing fixed. Here, send it to the shop. And then what happened was in 30 days, the invoice came back at like $6,000. We negotiated that down with the shop at $2,500 because they never ended up testing the sensor, whatever. I'm not going to go into the detail. She didn't get an attorney. We got a release sign. Everybody was happy. It was half her fault because she just kept going. She literally caused the crash herself. She could have just stopped her car at 3 miles an hour. She just kept going for like 2-3 seconds, right? But that's fine. The biggest thing that I say, and that could have turned into a frivolous claim. So about the definition of a frivolous claim is there's things that can turn into those if you wait and if you don't take a proactive measure. I'll be honest with you, if you give it to your insurance company, they are not going to give you that result. Why? Because they're adjusters, depending if they're hired at the insurance company, or most of them, if you're a trucking company, you have probably a program or an insurance program. These are basically, without going into too much technicality, these are basically insurance companies that hire third-party claims people to handle claims. These claims people handle 300 plus claims at any given time. They're super busy. They're not going to go ahead and call the claimant. They're going to wait for the claimant to send them something, or for the attorney to send them a letter of representation, right? This is the reality of what happens. But why are you waiting for that? Why are you waiting 3 to 6 months? Why not just call the claimant, try to solve the problem, even though it may not be your fault, get a release sign so they can't, sue you later on, right? And that's it. And then you just avoided a whole problem in your claims report or your loss runs, if you guys are familiar with them, depending on the audience. But the claims report that you get, that underwriters use to shop your insurance or to underwrite your insurance. So I hope that makes sense. So you need to attack frivolous claims by being very proactive. You got to get witnesses. You got to get written or verbal statements, recorded verbal statements from the claimant as well. You got to take a picture of the license plate to see who the truck, the car is registered to, right? And you can kind of reverse engineer, maybe their contact as well. But like, you need to have those 3 pieces of evidence.
Do you have a checklist?
Sure. I wouldn't say the most important. I can share it at the end of, maybe at the end of the.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So in my line, frivolous to mean not that. Mine is dropping off a car and a week later trying to claim damage on said car. That's my frivolous. And it's usually because the wife or the husband took the car out crashed it or something, and they try to blame it on said driver.
Hmm.
What, I mean,
Totally.
yeah.
We dealt with that once for an auto hauler. So they dropped off the car at a hotel location. He turned on the key ignition to the car. It worked fine. And then I think like 2 days after, I think like a day after, they had said, well, the car doesn't function anymore, and like you did something to it. And we had to fight that really hard with the cargo insurer. It was I don't know, the claim was like for
Stupid,
20,000, 15.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a BMW, I think it was. And then, of course, it was, you take that with a grain of salt. So we had to fight that really, really hard. And, but when it comes to those cargo, I mean, auto hauler is like one thing. We had one recently that was the load wasn't in an encapsulated trailer. I think it was like a 7-car hauler trailer,
Yeah.
7,
Okay.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was open. It was a little bit cold, and there was another car that was traveling on the road, and the ice from their windshield flew into the Porsche. They were hauling a Porsche, flew into the Porsche, and then cracked like a mirror or something. It was like a $6,000-7,000 claim. Unfortunately, we couldn't do anything from it because the other car fled. It's
gone.
Fled through the highway. Yeah, it's gone. So we have those instances where sometimes it's a little bit unlucky. You don't have a lot to go with. So you just have to. I would say this, Sue. Most accidents are very minor, and I'm gonna name accidents as vehicle to vehicle. Right. They're very minor. There's a ton of side swipe. There's a ton of bumper. Very minor cosmetic damages stuff.
Yeah.
What you want to do, you want to go grab that by the horn. You want to contact the other party. You want to get witnesses. You want to build a file, right? You want to send that to your insurance company, and then you got to tell them, it's like, look, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take care of this. Like, chill out. You know what I mean?
Right.
In all, fairness. But keep communicating with your insurance company. Keep communicating with your adjuster. A lot of adjusters, they don't really. This has been one of the hardest things to deal with here, is that they don't really understand what they're trying to do. They just feel like, oh, it's a file, I got to pay for it. It's like, no, not necessarily, right? It's very minor. We already got a release. Here you go. You can go ahead and close the claim out. Thank you. Anything less than, I tell fleets all the time, anything less than $10,000, depending on the size of the fleet, anything less than 10, you take care of it. You keep your insurance company informed. You create your file. You create your driver statements, your witness statements, or you have recordings of those, one or the other. You have a lot of pictures. You have your dash cam footage, right? And either you hire somebody very knowledgeable to handle claims for your transportation company, or you can do it yourself, but just understand that there's a method to the madness. There's people that have been trained and licensed to, like public adjusters to be able to do that work and that know how to handle claims. So I would be very careful on doing it yourself. I would rather you hire a company that is knowledgeable, or just give it to your insurance company. But one thing for sure is, like, you're not going to come out winning. You're going to have, we had a customer that had 8 claims in the last, they have like 32 trucks. They had 8 claims in the last 9 months. I'm going to be posting a post about this one. And we got all 8 claims settled directly without involving insurance company. Actually, only 2 of them actually appeared on their loss runs. And the reason being is that there were a lot of parking lots, kind of like disputes. And there were some that were so minor that I said, look, let's just go ahead and take care of it, and that avoided a whole big problem. If you would have gotten all of these things to go into the workflow, the insurance workflow, you would have probably seen, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I can't even speculate, because I know how bad things can get even from a very small, damage, so it could have been really bad. I would say that, but he was able to get about the same rate that he did last year. He has some safety scores issues that we're working with him on, that we're constantly improving. But boy, I will tell you that, we came in, he had a bunch of claims, like right off the bat. He was like so unlucky. Most claims that he's ever had, we took a look at the driver roster. We looked at his Samsara, and his Samsara showed a 90, and I'll go on a tangent now. It showed a 90 out of 100 on the driving score. And then you're like, oh, gee, that's really good, right? But when you actually took a look at it, he was using a very he did a custom, in Samsara, you can do a custom, like, hey, this is what you should consider bad. And then it calculates your safety score. But you don't want to do that. You don't want to create nothing custom. You want to be compared to 400,000 other fleets. You know what I mean?
So, hey, what I want to do, something happened, the audio is getting a little glitchy here, but I want to, and I know we're almost at 1 o'clock, I want to ask you something. You've seen a lot, right? And you've been successful in talking about strange incidences. Rocky, what in the world is going on here? Let's take a look at this. This is in the news right now. Everybody's talking about this.
Yeah, girl, don't do that.
Looks like he's trying to do the Paul Walker. You've seen Fast and Furious? Paul Walker does, turns back and goes like that, looks at the girl. It's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But he's not doing a very good job. I think Paul Walker, he's not doing a very good job.
Is it being towed or something? What's going on?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
It's being towed behind that Tahoe or Yukon or whatever?
But I like the Paul Walker. Yeah. So this SUV is...
Oh, good Lord. And they thought that was okay, huh?
I can't see the towing. I can see the
Oh, there's somebody in the car.
Oh, my good Lord.
What are you doing?
Where is this?
Houston.
Los Angeles?
I know, I thought it was Los Angeles too.
Or is it Houston? It's in Houston.
It's in, look at this. There is a driver in there.
Yeah, his head's jerking around everywhere.
He's trying to
Control it, and there's no
So
control.
there's a chain. See that
Oh,
chain?
I see. Yeah.
Stupid. That's what that is.
So,
Yeah, girl, don't do that.
all right.
Lucky somebody's not dead. That's just
So,
crazy.
okay,
And the guy
there's
that's
been
pulling him doesn't have a clue that this is even going on. Yeah, it's like,
Oh, no.
just keep on trucking.
All right, they're fighting about something, right?
Oh, you think that's what it is? Oh my
Yes,
God.
I do. Yes,
I think
Oh
you're asking
my.
very important questions.
Oh my, yeah, you could be right
I think
there.
the SUV, because I've thought about this. Oh yeah,
You got
I think the
pissed.
SUV put a chain. And by the way, how strong is his
bumper.
connection to the car?
Yeah.
The guy is trying to get away, and he's just being dragged across the freeway. The SUV is dragging the car by a chain. The driver of the car is trying his darndest to get out of there, and he can't.
Wow.
There's no end to that. I mean, obviously it had to end somewhere. By the way, that'd be interesting too. That is one weird story. I have never seen that incident.
Wow.
Nah, I've never seen that. That's
See
crazy.
it down home in my little town, crazy crap like that. Not a big town.
Yeah. I
Now,
wonder if that white vehicle has a US DOT number on the side and registered as a towing.
No, I don't think. I don't think
a
so.
drive
No.
away.
See,
A drive away company.
I don't think so. I think it's an individual with a problem with another individual, and it just went nuts.
Or a
Because-
girl, boyfriend, girlfriend thing.
See,
something.
I'm glad you said it, Sue.
Yeah,
I think this is over a lady.
yeah.
It's always over a lady. Yeah. any major dispute in mankind is always over a lady. Look back
Good
at
point.
civilization.
So I'm glad we were able to end on that. It's really been a great show. Sue, Peach is
Yeah.
really glad you were talking about claims. I do want to say this is that, with as hard as it is to be in car hauling, right? Nobody wants to answer the
Yeah.
phone, you're getting hacked, the cheap rates. And on top of that, if the only thing you have is an open trailer, aren't you constantly worried about stuff hitting the cars?
Yes, especially when it's hailing outside and stuff like that. Tornado.
Crap.
I mean,
The road is full of crap.
well, that too. Yeah.
The problem with most companies is mismanagement. That's the problem. Like, most companies don't make it because they mismanage something. That is a type of mismanagement. If it's hailing outside, why are you hauling, why are you not in an enclosed trailer? In my opinion, right? I'm not a auto hauler.
And we're going to answer that. You know why? Enclosed is 3 times. Enclosed is 3 times the rate of open, if not 5. Nobody wants to pay that. And you'll see a guy with a Rolls-Royce Ghost, and he doesn't want to pay enclosed.
Yeah. I have that happen all the time.
That makes no sense.
It
If I
doesn't.
have a Rolls
Because people are cheap.
Of
Yeah.
course, I want my, equipment, important equipment that costs me a lot of money in an enclosed trailer.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's sunny outside, if we're in Miami or we're in Utah. Like, I don't really care, where you're at. There's always elements and things that happen. Maybe because I've seen too much. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of people that are ignorant to that.
There should be an advisor. If you buy a nice car,
Expect to pay.
yeah, expect to
Be
pay
like, here's
for
your
everything.
transport cost.
You gotta
Not
pay to
just the
play.
things yeah, you're going to pay all the time. And to transport this baby, it's going to be expensive.
Well, they know something. You know what I mean? I'll follow the guy that knows something. Like, obviously they've done it enough times.
But
They're
now,
like,
but you keep an eye out for enclosed and open transport when it comes to cars and damage claims. And I think you're going to see something really interesting. You're going to begin to profile the owners of certain vehicles.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And in fact, I'll say it like this. I think a lot of brokers like working with ball players because they're used to paying a lot to move their cars around.
Well, that's true.
But if you're dealing with like a certain exec expects to pay cheap open transport even though it's a $200,000
Or more. I've got one of those. He owns an insurance
I have no
company.
idea. But you're going to notice trends. I bet you insurance companies have secret files about this stuff. Rich just
profiling dossiers.
Rich just threw his Coca-Cola across the room.
I think it makes sense. So if we want to go into that psychology element, ball players,
there is
very
so much
materialistic
psychology to this.
Yeah, very materialistic. They want to take care of their possessions. I could see them being like, "Oh, there's a scratch on my thing,"
But they're also, it's just like the, psychology of tipping. Some people, listen, if they had a great night out, $1,000 at the hibachi, here's some tips. It was cool, right on. But then you can have other people that are like, you know what? I just spent $50,000 and I ate a snake. Here's a $5 tip.
It's true. I think there's 2 types of those. Yeah,
you guys are way off topic now. Somebody's like, you guys are way off topic. Peach Transport gets the bell. Rocky, this was really a great conversation. I want to thank you so much for reaching out. This was cool.
Thank you for having me.
Sue, any final thoughts?
No, I'm good.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
Rocky, I'm going to put you back in the waiting room. Thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Rocky.
All right. Take care. That's Rocky with Coverfleet. I put the link in the live chat a couple times. I'm going to put it in again. What I like, and you can find that's Rocky Ricardo on LinkedIn. When we do trucking and insurance, we get a few views on LinkedIn.
It's just a common theme with what we do. That's
I know. Well, you know what? Well, you know what's weird about it's insurance. It's good. See if you start up your video again and see what it's like now. Probably cleared.
Okay, well.
The bits have cleared out, but it is kind of it seems like a dull. It's like talking about banking. But it's so important to understand. Check.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now. Okay, keep your video.
Okay.
Yay.
Anyways.
What were you saying? Yeah.
What did I say?
I said something about banking and...
Well, I was just saying that most people just go get their insurance. They don't even understand all the things that go with it.
Yes.
Like for example, they get their insurance one year, it rolls around to the next year, and they don't understand what a lost run is, or that kind of thing,
Totally.
or why their insurance doubled. Like I had this happen to a guy, and his insurance doubled. He has no claims. He went from 20,000 to 40,000.
Ooh.
No claims, no safety things. He's got a great safety record. Never been shut down. It's just that kind of stuff. Yeah, and there is no explanation for that kind of stuff, as far as I can tell.
And like this show was good. It's tempting. Well, let's do an insurance show monthly. I can't crack the code on insurance information. Right?
No, I don't know the rhyme or reason to anything that they do. So yeah.
So let's see here. I want to go back to this. Here's the news we didn't do. Okay. After Jack Cooper exit Proficient Auto Logistics, picks up millions in new auto hauling business.
Wow.
Big shocker, right? The CEO says that enduring weak transport market could shake out other players. Yeah, there will be other shakeouts.
Yeah.
What we're getting at here is, let's talk turkey. Proficient Auto Logistics says their team has scored new business worth $60 million annually because Jack Cooper dropped out. Jack Cooper was number 2 in the auto hauling market. That's going to add 15% to the company's top line based on the last 2 quarters. That's 15%. That 15% was roughly what Jack Cooper's market share was of the auto hauling market before it's closed its doors.
So
here's what
why did Jack Cooper go out?
Right. If they had that much business, why did they go out?
Yeah.
The answer, as I've been able to surmise, is they've been robbing Peter to pay Paul for a long time. They've already had a bankruptcy in the past. And here's, like my buddy Don says, the fastest way to make $1,000 in auto transport?
What?
Start with $1 million. So, if you're in auto trade, and all the brokers know this, you go to the trade shows, who's throwing money around, like just shoveling and scooping hordes of cash? It's not the asset heavy carriers. It's the brokers. The fastest way to lose your money in auto transport is to have trucks, and a lot of trucks. And those trucks get old, and then here's Jack Cooper had a secret ingredient called unions. Right? Yeah. So you have to pay the union wages. Your trucks just keep getting older and trashier. You're hanging on to contracts. You're in boardrooms, praying it'll work out. And what happens? You got a business.
Yeah.
This is auto transport.
How long had Jack Cooper been in business?
So, right. Well, a long time. And knowing that, knowing that Jack Cooper was sharing the same property with GM, like they were, like literally GM's in.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far and say too much craziness. Right. But what I wonder is, did somebody at Proficient Auto Logistics know years ago, hey, what happens if Jack Cooper goes out of business? Who's gonna get that business? What if we could find out, how to get a floating palace on that? All right. The first driverless semis have started running regular long-haul routes. Attention! The first driverless semis, a.k.a. semis with no drivers, have started running regular long-haul routes. Do you see how happy the driver is? Yeah.
Could you imagine?
You know why you can't see how happy he is? He ain't in there.
I could just imagine driving down the road and seeing that. It would freak me out.
I know.
Would it freak you out?
You know what? It's really going to freak you out in 10 years when there's nobody in any of those cars.
Well, we'll be riding in the back seat. Yeah.
Right. Watching movies, eating buckets of lard like in Wall-E. Okay. So,
unloading the trucks.
Making round trips between Dallas and Houston, autonomous trucking firm Aurora launched its commercial service in Texas with its customers, Uber Freight and Hirschbach Motorlines. Stay with me, don't fall asleep. Which delivers time and temperature sensitive freight. Aurora's new commercial service will no longer have safety drivers. Nobody in the truck. Trucks are equipped with computer sensors that can see the length of over 4 football fields. Can you see 4 football fields ahead when you're in a truck? I don't know, actually. I don't know the answer to that. But wait! There's a fricas. Texas proposes driverless truck ban on Uber Freight Hirschbach partnership as it takes off. This is brand new. They got the same picture.
Wow.
State lawmakers in Texas are reviewing a bill that would ban fully driverless trucks in Texas. House Bill 4402, which just passed out of the Texas House Committee on Transportation, would require trained human operators in autonomous vehicles. A similar bill was introduced in California a number of times and even passed both houses, but was vetoed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Oh, Governor. So anyways, requiring a human operator in a driverless truck isn't unreasonable. It's common sense, said the president of Teamsters Union. The union has supported numerous bills that require human operators in autonomous commercial vehicles. So as long as you have a human being in the cab. I guess they don't have to, as long as they're in the cab. There's hundreds of thousands of Texans who turn a key for a living. They have mortgages, medical bills, families to support. We can't let out-of-state billionaires. Here we go. We cannot let out-of-state billionaires steal their jobs. You know, I know an in-state billionaire that has cut a lot of jobs there. Yes, Elon Musk does live in Texas, and he also his headquarters in SpaceX Starbase. So I guess that argument's not going to fly. What do you think about that? Those out-of-state billionaires in the autonomous trucking, and I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it?
Well, let's see. When did we first start talking about this? A few years ago, right?
You got all these cheap rates and craziness. I mean, yeah.
When they started doing the Walmart trucks like that, remember? We talked about that a few years ago.
I don't think you can stop it.
I don't think you can stop any of it. I think that's just, it is going to be what it is. But
it's like saying, you know what? We're just going to cut AI. We're not doing that. Yeah. And listen, nobody cares about this show, so I don't care whose feelings get hurt by the fact that this is happening. It's happening.
It is. I mean, they've got Ubers out there that are without drivers.
But we're going to have new laws require, you know what that means? So we're going to have laws that require people to be a part of something they don't even need to be there for.
Right.
I can't wait to see that Wall-E future. You're going to have people standing around because a law says that a person needs to be there, but they ain't doing nothing.
Right. They're sitting in the back eating Cheetos. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we're going to have that. That'll be awesome. I can't wait to do that show.
Well, wait. How about this? It'll eventually be an AI in the back instead, right?
Like a robot.
The AI truck. Yes.
We'll have a robot in the back seat eating Cheetos.
Yes.
That's fun. I don't think that's ever been said before on this show. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And I realize, but yeah, I mean, there's no audience for this bad news. Yeah, you know, they're stealing everybody's jobs. You know, that's another thing. I've noticed, oh my gosh, there's so many job changes on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It is weekly. It might be daily, but it's at least weekly. I don't scroll through LinkedIn like I used to anymore because it just pisses me off. Everything is so fake. It's such bullshit.
Yeah.
But I don't have to scroll far and I see somebody else lost a job, looking for a job, open to work, and it's like, dude, it is a slippery slope. It's gone freaking nuts. I don't know what all these people are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I hear like, oh, such and such country has a population problem. I'm like, really? Because AI is going to be doing everything.
Then what
I
do we
don't,
do?
I don't
What do
know
we
if you
do for
have a
jobs?
population problem. Yeah, some would say COVID was an attempt to fix what's going to be a population problem. Wow, that took
So
a
I got
dark
it. I
turn.
know what it is. We'll send our robots out to do our jobs, and they collect our money while we sit at home eating Cheetos.
I
Right?
like it. I love that idea. I want a Cheetos robot. But until that happens, we still have insurance claims. It is interesting. At the root of it, coming back to reality, I don't know if you have a business where you have assets that are mobile and you don't have cameras on them. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one cheap little camera, start with that, right? You gotta have a camera.
You do. You really do. It doesn't
And that-
make any sense.
You got so you have your dash cam. You need that
Yeah.
for crazies on the road. Do you ever drive and you don't find yourself feeling some level of rage? I went on a short. I ran a short errand this morning, and I had a guy honking at me for no reason. I'm like, and it was obvious because then he starts riding me. I'm like, dude, I'm doing what happened to your situation? I'm literally just driving.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even going that far. So you need the dash cam for the crazies in front of you, and then don't you need the rear facing for the crazies behind you?
Yeah. And probably
And then
one for your body.
Then you need the side guns like on the Road Warrior.
Yeah.
Side guns. Okay.
It's true. It's sad, but it's true.
This show's gone on too long. Waymo just recalled 1,200 robo-taxis? Wow. That is recalled in what way, Joaquin? That's crazy. So here's why he really got my attention on that. Is that I'm going to Google that. I think Waymo, there's this talk about oh gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm trying to type. Okay, here it is. It's still inevitable. What do they say? You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Waymo has recalled 12 of its drivers over faulty software that caused them to crash into Chains gates. That's interesting. That is great, Joaquin. Yeah, right. Peach is like, I gotta be careful because ChatGPT is listening, right? Yeah, no, it's true.
It's true.
Pretty soon, Alexa's gonna be like, it sounds like you're planning a crime. What?
I'm probably sure it's already doing that, just not telling you that.
It's already doing that. Oh my
Just like your
God.
TVs. Your
And
TVs have cameras.
Maybe
too.
that's a future job. You show up at people's door on behalf of Alexa. Hi, listen, we got this report from Alexa. Something you said about 30 minutes ago. If we could go back to that. Something about a 22. Right. Well, I do think autonomous vehicles are inevitable, and I do think that automakers will see the inevitability of making profit selling autonomous vehicles. And actually, I think Tesla, with its Cybercab, is seeing a future of, rather than selling vehicles, just making the autonomous taxi vehicles. Anyways, there's so much crap happening in the automotive industry. By the way, that's another thing. When we talk about trucking on Car Hall, we don't really talk about what's happening with our customer, the dealer, the OEM. There is something weird happening. It's not just the tariffs. I know that everybody voted for the guy and loves him, but his tariff crap has set something into motion that even if he calls off all the tariffs right now, I'm not sure it'll fix the turbulence that's happening. There is like global OEM crap going on now. And you know what? If we don't need all these people and we don't need all these cars, we may need more autonomous vehicles. I don't really know. All right. I just got super dark there probably 3 times. And that's enough for the day. Everybody's already clicked off anyways. They were here to see Rocky, not you guys get crazy. So we'll do another show probably in a few weeks. We'll see what the next one is.
Okay.
So it's kind of like having a margarita. I didn't see you on Cinco de Mayo, so here's your margarita. All right. Okay, guys. That's a cut. That's a wrap. What do we say, office?
Goodbye, Sue.
Goodbye, Sue.
You
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. It was fun.
All right.
All right, see ya.
All right. See ya.
Okay, bye.